CNN, Baghdad.
So what's going on right now between the White House and Iraq seems to be a classic game of good cop, bad cop. The president's been gently pushing the Iraqi government along so you can see what the vice president's job was today in Baghdad. And here is White House correspondent Ed Henry with more.
Vice President Cheney delivered a stern message to Iraqi Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki. Aboard Air Force Two en route to Iraq, a senior administration official told reporters, "We've got to get this work done. It's game time." A startling statement more than 4 years into the war.
The administration is becoming increasingly desperate because they know time is running out.
The vice president made clear U.S. patience is growing thin, especially with the Iraqi parliament planning a 2-month summer break.
Any undue delay would be difficult to explain.
2 years ago this month, the vice president said,
I think they're in the last throes, if you will, of the insurgency.
Based on his latest briefings, Mr. Cheney says the situation is getting better.
They do believe we are making progress, but we've got a long way to go.
Indeed, during the vice president's visit, there was an explosion that rattled the windows at the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad. Reporters were raced to a basement attack shelter before getting the all-clear signal. The vice president's schedule was not interrupted, and he proclaimed himself impressed by the answers he got from Maliki.
I do believe that there's a greater sense of urgency now than I'd seen previously.
But last June, during the president's own unannounced trip to Baghdad, he expressed similar confidence in Maliki.
I appreciate you recognize the fact that the future of your country is in your hands.
So, Ed, I understand there was a critical meeting yesterday between the president and some members of Congress. What happened and how hot did it get?
Well, it's interesting. White House spokesman Tony Snow confirms to CNN tonight that there was a meeting here in the private quarters of the White House yesterday afternoon between the president as well as Karl Rove, Secretary of State Rice, other top officials with these 11 Republican lawmakers who basically had some tough talk to the president. Snow saying, quote, everybody was completely candid in telling the president the situation is very difficult in Iraq. But it's important to note many of these lawmakers were very junior. They were not senior lawmakers. So this is not like the Republican leadership coming up here and saying, look, Mr. President, this thing is over. We're not quite there yet. What this does show is that Republicans on the Hill are getting more and more nervous about the situation on the ground. And while the president is facing heavy pressure from Democrats, he's also facing even more pressure now from Republicans saying, you've got to turn this around quickly. Otherwise, it's going to interfere in the '08 elections. And it's also, obviously, more importantly than just the politics, you've got over 150, 160,000 U.S. troops in the middle of what a lot of people in both parties now believe is a war, Paula.
Ed Henry, thanks so much for the update. We're going to go straight to our Out in the Open